Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ecofeminism and wish you a happy and successful 2018 year. So today I have a very successful candidate and guests. I'm really happy to welcome Avi Tawil, who is founder and director of EJCC, European Jewish Community Center in Europe. For 14 years, he's married with 4 children, and he's teacher, lecturer in interreligious dialogue. Avi Tawil, welcome to Ecofeminism.
Thank you, Manel, for welcoming me.
You're welcome. We are happy to have you here today because you have you had in 2017 so many activities. You organized so many conferences and so many roundtables in dialogue, interreligious dialogue, but also with youth, with women, and you are fostering in building coexistence and peace in Brussels and in Europe. So can you speak a little bit about your activities, your objectives, and your 2018 agenda?
Yeah, so our organization serves as a window to the general public to understand also about the individuality of Jewish culture. But through that, it's a window that it helps also the Jewish community to communicate with the outside world. We believe obviously in a respectful society, but a society that being part of a community, it should make you feel comfortable and grounded in your life, with your family, with your friends, with your community, if it's a Muslim, Christian, or any other or non-religious community. But that should not stop you from dialogue, shouldn't stop you from knowing the other. So we would like to create a more dynamic community, not only Jewish community, but a respectful society in general. Activities that we worked on this year, we were just talking about it before, about the exhibition for Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the Jewish festival of light that celebrates light, the light of education, the light of understanding, the freedom of religion for all. So for that occasion, like every year, we organize in the European Commission Europe Hanukkah. So we would like to also give to it a spin of Europe.
Yes. So there was a European event in the Parliament. It was organized in the Parliament with high-level speakers also, and a tribute to Simone Veil. Can you speak about that special event?
It was in the European Commission under the patronage of Commissioner Pierre Moscovici, and it was in tribute to Simone Veil. So it's a very special woman, a very special human being, who she came from the Jewish community. She herself was deported to Auschwitz, so she was a Shoah survivor. But something very special of Simone Veil is that when she came back from that suffering, she actually saw the darkest side of humanity in her youth. During her youth, when she came back, she didn't actually stay with remorse against the society. On the opposite, she worked to build not only a better France, but also she became the first president of the European Parliament. Yeah. So as a woman, as the first president. Coming from the Jewish community, she didn't stay only for the benefit of the people of her community, but she thought of the freedoms of everybody. She put forward in political debate the women's rights.
Yeah, women's rights and right of abortion also.
Yes, right of depenalization, especially depenalization of abortion.
In France.
Yeah, so regardless of the concerning abortion, regardless of the opinion of each individual person about abortion, I think it's depenalization. Not even the Bible penalizes abortion.
Yeah. It's kind of right. So she was developing human rights and women's rights.
Exactly. So she believed in a free society, in a society that people would not suffer what she went through. Not only Jews, but any other individual, regardless of the community, regardless of the political or social background. if we want freedom for ourselves, we want freedom for everybody.
Sure.
Something I like about in Jewish philosophy, when I was young, I studied philosophy, and there is this concept of a perfect world, of tikkun olam, perfectioning the world. And some people call it Mashiach, the Messiah. The point is that the Mashiach, the perfect world, has two sides. So there is the subjective aspect. So the person, the kind of life we are living. So we can, regardless of our circumstances, we can be in a perfect life, in a perfect world, individually, inside ourselves. But also there is a general concept of a perfect world. So your little world, your world inside you, cannot be perfect until the world out there is not perfect. Which means you may not reach a perfect life until there is someone else in any corner of the world suffering. If there is someone suffering somewhere, your job in the world is not done yet. So that is what I like about Simone Weil, her commitment to everyone's welfare, to humanity, to everyone's welfare, not just about you, but about everybody. Going back to this activity, Euro Hanukkah, it was a fantastic opportunity to actually express what our work is all about. We would like to, the Jewish community also to, at the same time, while we are experiencing our community life and our culture, that should be a reason why to open up to others and why to think of the welfare of other communities. So I am a strong believer of Europe. So therefore we work very much with the European institutions. A strong Europe, we have to realize that Europe is a platform. Europe
is a huge platform.
Yes, it's a huge platform, but it can be a good platform or not such a good platform. The question is what we gonna make out of that. So there is also the civic responsibility that each one of us has. We have to realize that Europe, it's a reflection of our society. If we manage the civil society, the people in their homes, in their families, we manage to pass on to our children, to the next generation, and to ourselves, to interiorize the idea that we are all equal to each other and we should care for the rights of the other as well, then Europe will be a strong Europe of goodness, a Europe that will increase, that will bring better lives to everyone in their countries, in their societies.
Yes, absolutely. So we had this idea of fighting against hate speech and the idea of coexisting and building a respectful society through youth and dialogue and through round tables and especially organized by your foundation. How can you contribute to peace and building a better future for a better generation through youth dialogue?
The future is youth. Sure. Our lives are short after all, and we have to think of the next generation. And dialogue, some people have this feeling that perhaps dialogue is just words, and so what will come out of that? But I do believe that everything started in the mind of someone. Everything started with an idea. So I think that good ideas and good and positive dialogue, it's very important. Because dialogue doesn't just end up in talking, but talking is the beginning to understand, to recognize the humanity in the other, and to see why we should work together towards a better future. So something important that we have to know, that throughout the activities in the past 2-3 years of dialogue, we have worked with the founder of Almouwatin, actually, Lahcen Hammouch, who I send my regards. It didn't remain only in dialogue. First of all, the people that engaged in this dialogue, they become friends and they become real partners with the people they're talking to, and eventually there were many interesting initiatives that were born out of this dialogue. I think ideas are crucially important. We cannot say that we are especially in the action, but we leave ideas to others. I think everyone that is doing something, he has to start with why. Why am I doing this? what do I truly believe in, and this has to be expressed in every single action during our day. Since we wake up till we go to sleep, every action, even we are honestly working perhaps for our family, to bring a salary at home, but the actions have to be surrounded by the mission of our life, why we are doing it.
Absolutely. So you are trying to transmit these ideas into young people by showing them examples of a balanced and a respectful society, civil society, and by absolutely helping certain fragile communities such as the refugees. So you said that you were helping refugees through the women's group and also through young people group. So can you speak about that?
Yeah, so recently we had this initiative of Women's Dialogue, and so there was a group of women from many communities in Brussels that they came together for dialogue, but eventually they came with the initiative of preparing packages of food to wish a good new year to refugees. So this I think it's a great activity, because beyond the dialogue that brought these people together, and in the dialogue itself they understood how many things in common they have, each one in their own history, where the country they come from. Beyond that, they wanted to give a spin to the dialogue, to help others, that a third party should benefit from this gathering. And every gathering brings actually something concrete, something good to society. And we visited this refugee center where we brought these packages. And so I'm not a woman, so I didn't participate in the group, but I think it was fantastic. I did participate in the other dialogue group. For example, we have a businessman from the Muslim and Jewish community who come together periodically, and so we became like brothers, like true friends. We did activities together. The end of the month, we're going the families of these businessmen with their children. We're going to have a bowling day together with the organization Play for Peace, actually. So I think the dialogue was actually created through Stéphanie Lahcen, a great professional from the organization siège, the Jewish Contribution for an Inclusive Europe, to gradually bring the person from just the most simple things of our daily lives, how to understand the life of others, but eventually also understand the things that bother the other, the kind of experiences of racism that the other person goes through, to understand, to
hatred,
yes, and to increase the empathy, to first
discrimination,
to get to know the person behind the body you see in front of you, and eventually realize that their challenges are very similar to my challenges, and that clearly it melts all the ice, and it opens so much, brings so much empathy and humanity between the participants.
Sure. You said that your wife is also included in this interreligious dialogue, especially with women, and she is a teacher. You are a teacher as well, and you are working with schools. So can you speak about this contribution to schools, and how schools have a certain partnership with your organization?
Yeah, so there are groups from different schools that they participate in visits. For instance, they come to visit the synagogue, and in the visit we talk about the common things of Jewish, Christian, or Muslim culture. We learn how we celebrate. We learn the rituals of each community, and we understand the common things that there are in the history of each one of the communities. So, for example, if there were students who come from Morocco, they would understand, they would learn the history of Jews in Morocco and how many things we have in common. We talk about the so many common words that we have in Hebrew and Arabic, and how if we remind ourselves of our history, we see that creating a community where communities live alongside and together. It's not something new. We're not reinventing the wheel. This has happened already in the past. We talk about Middle Ages, what a great contribution of Jewish and Muslim Christian scholars did, and how the universal tone in their writings, in their philosophy, and this is something that actually today we can definitely learn a lot from that past.
Sure. So you spoke about Europe as a model and Europe as an objective for your foundation, because you are based in Brussels and you have a European perspective. So how can different communities from Europe get together through that project? So you are working on dialogue, on peace, on coexistence, but also we know that Europe is diverse and it has multiple communities. How can this European Jewish Community Center help Europe have a European identity, or what we call, a united Europe, as we said,
so
with its diversity, of course.
Yeah. If we talk about Jewish community, so Jewish community has been in Europe for 2,000 years, in prosperous times and times of adversity. But it was a community that lived in Europe for so long. In the past, we used to feel, communities felt that being Jewish, for example, it may have been a contradiction to being Spanish, because if you are Spanish, your identity is a national identity, has to be linked. If you want to contribute to this nation, you have to have the same identity, also the same religious identity to other Spanish people. And that caused the Inquisition. That Jews were expelled from Spain. That's just to bring an example. So in the past, the fact of having an identity meant that I am A, therefore I am not B. If I am what I am not like him, and that strengthened my identity. I think the way we have to look at it today is, as Lord Jonathan Sachs says, we have to look at the dignity of difference. When there is someone who is different than us, we can encourage him to bring the uniqueness of his expression of life. So his uniqueness should not be a contradiction, or should not go against someone else's uniqueness, but the opposite, a society that has so many interesting ways of looking at the world from the perspective of each one of the communities that lived here in this continent, that makes us much richer. So, for example, you have if we talk about men and women, the male perspective of life is different than female sometimes, but obviously these perspectives may be available for everyone, and so too men and women are free to choose what kind of perspective they should choose for their life. But usually, from a biological point of view, women, they think about the future. They think about, they have to invest all the things available for the next generation, for their children. So it takes 9 months of
sacrifice.
A biological sacrifice to bring this child to the world. And so usually female perspective in the world is more long term. It's about stability. It's about thinking what will be with the next generation. Men, because they don't have to spend a lot of resources to have children, so therefore they take a lot of risk. They may not be so thoughtful about society, they just would do something. They take a lot of risk, and sometimes because they are betting so much, they can make huge success. But you need these two sides together. So if you cannot decide that the whole society should function only on one perspective. We are richer when we have available these two perspectives, and we would learn how to take risk. And at the same time, we can interiorize the concept of thinking long term. Sometimes we would bet big. Sometimes we would be more conservative in our actions. So to to bring as an analogy to the different views that different communities may have bring to the world. I think Europe is richer with its diversity, but its diversity, each one in their own group needs to also interiorize that idea that my being Jewish or my nationality should encourage other nationalities, other as well, to share their culture, share their expression. That is what makes them really stronger, when they learn how to unite in the center.
Yeah, and of course with respecting the other culture and not imposing one's culture, because sometimes in other communities we have the impression that some communities impose something, or some people want to impose something. Indeed. But you have to open one's horizons and see the world with different lenses and different horizons, and be open to the other cultures and religious communities, and also being open to non-religious communities, and respect the other's opinion. So this is the perspective of, as we said, a European and universal citizen or global citizen, the values that we want to implement in the new generation as well.
Okay, you said it very well.
Thank you. You too. So at the end of, I think that we come to the conclusion of this beautiful conversation. I shall thank you for this enlightening conversation and thoughts, insightful thoughts. But can you give me, because I ask that to every and each guest, his or her quotation or best quotation or advice to young people, or advice to TV viewers that are following us. So what is the advice that you, as a founder of EJCC, and as a father, as a teacher, as a lecturer, as an engaged citizen, what is the message that you want to give to young people and to people in general?
Well, the thing is that is most importantly for me, the way I learned about the world and our society, is that we have to learn from our past. We have to learn from our teachers. We have to have people, we have to look up to people that they should encourage us. But to encourage us to seek further, to go ahead, to learn from the past, but at the same time have the courage to question the present. Not everything that is today acceptable in our society is absolutely good. So we need, just like in the past, leaders. They were leaders because they had the courage to ask these hard questions. So I would advise a young person to learn from his teachers, learn from his tradition and from his past, and at the same time have the courage to ask what can he advance in society.
Or what can he improve? Or
yes, what he improve, what can he contribute further? And sometimes the answer will be a bit difficult, because not everybody will agree with your point of view. Sure. But we have to dare. We have to dare. And a personality, a biblical personality that inspired me a lot is Abraham. My name is Abraham as well. So Abraham, which is the father of the three monotheistic religions. In fact, Abraham is a person that didn't fight wars. He did not command the armies. The only thing he came is with ideas. And these ideas today, a majority of humanity ascribe to Abrahamic religion. So there is 1.7 billion Muslims in the world, 2.2 billion Christians, about 15 million with million Jews. So you have a majority of humanity today that ascribes to that human being who grew up in a society who did not share the ideas he had, and he dared to ask, he dared to change, to be a dissident, but he didn't do it in a way of fighting wars. No, he just transmitted these ideas to his children. That's all he did. He was a good father, a father who focused in education. The Bible says that the great thing of Abraham is because he was able to communicate his ideas to the next generation. In Hebrew, leman, Well, because he was able to because he was able to communicate it to his sons and daughters. So perhaps the things that really make a change in the world is ideas.
And education.
Education, exactly. This is where we should really invest.
Yeah.
Legislation, governments they do great work. It is important to have.
This is what Mandela says: the education is the most powerful weapon to change the world. So.
There we go.
Yeah, and which is something in common with Abraham is a person who is very peaceful, and he fought peacefully. So we don't need arms, as you said. The arms are the books and education.
Yeah. So the more what is interesting is that the more people are convinced that we don't need any more guns, any more arms. So the more the strategy of education will work.
Sure. Thank you very much for your insightful thoughts and for your beautiful conversation. We were very honored to have you here today, and we wish you very successful 2018 year with so many activities, and you are always welcome in our TV program to speak about your activities and your future plans. Thank you.
Thank you, and much success and good continuity with your program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.